my, it's top 20 ranked time. And, well, guys, it's been quite a summer so far. When I initially hopped onto the scene with my spring top 20 ranked a few months ago, I kind of saw that season as relatively typical of the main trajectory that pop music had been taking for a while. Some uninteresting pop rap here, some Ariana Grande cuts there, and a few nice atmospheric bits of pop music to keep things on the interesting side. My number one for that season was a trap song that is pretty universally considered one of the benchmark recordings of its genre, while my least favorite single was a throwaway Maroon 5 cut that everyone hated, and most have already forgotten about by now. So yeah, definitely not an uninteresting season, but relatively speaking, pretty standard. And I say relatively speaking, because these past few months have been fucking wild. Yeah, I'm gonna take my horse. Last spring, the most radical name we've had rearing their heads into the top 20 were the Jonas Brothers. At the time, it wasn't even fathomable that something as distinct as Old Town Road would come close to being anything near a hit. And now, it's broken the 24-year record for the longest-running chart topper on the Hot 100, and is on the path to becoming among the biggest hit singles of all time. I'll give my actual opinions on this song later on, but it's also well worth mentioning that 2019 as a whole has been its own wild, wild west of a pop music landscape. I firmly believe that the flow of trends in pop music are a reaction of sorts to the real-life social and even political climates of their respective time. That's why Obama-era pop music was mindless and positive, while the past few years have wallowed in a bleak, depressive state. I see 2019's pop music as a case of unbridled, nihilistic anarchy. Nothing matters anymore, so let's just do the unthinkable. All those songs that would have otherwise been huge hits just 3 years ago? Fuck 'em. Let's bring Snow and Billy Ray Cyrus back into relevancy. Let's put a children's song in the top 40 for 12 weeks. And let's put all commercial power in an absolute meme of a song that at least temporarily kills the career of some actual big names. I'm the bad guy. Duh. Hell, if Jesus Is the One I Got Depression doesn't somehow make it into the Hot 100 by the end of the year, that will be an opportunity sorely missed. If it does, however, that would be the perfect cap-off to the downward emotional spiral of the 2010s as a whole.
Hey, shout out mental illness. Shout out mental illness.
But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself here. To put it simply, this season's top 20 is actually pretty solid. While my like-to-dislike ratio is about the same compared to spring, I find the good songs to be even stronger this time around, making it a net win overall. And yes, I'm aware that since I'm using a top 20 from mid-July, the current top 20 probably looks way different. Get over it. Anyway, let's just get started. Happy summer! Here's top 20 ranked.
You got it, girl, you got it, girl. You got it, girl, you got it, girl.
Who let the assholes get in again? While my track record with Drake has been pretty spotty, I've been totally, utterly sick of Chris Brown for a long time. Like, the last song of his I didn't hate at least a little bit was Forever from 2008. I guess he and Drake have had a feud for some time, which is why this collab is notable. But really, who the fuck cares? A quick bit of research tells me they were involved in a brawl back in 2012. But then, that was 7 years ago, so whatever. Well, in general, I don't understand why anyone would pay a second's notice at these hip-hop feuds in the first place, but that's just me. But no, this feud is notable because the connecting thread between these two artists are their past relationships with Rihanna. Infamously, the physical abuse put onto her by Chris Brown rightfully marred his reputation to most, while Drake put a damper on the relationship in his own, frankly, pretty creepy way. In general, I'm not for meddling in the affairs of others, and I believe all of that should matter most to the individual directly involved. But no, this is a music industry, so everything that can be capitalized upon should be capitalized upon. This song only exists for the drama. Its only main goal is to accomplish the head turns it inevitably got. It cares not for the feelings of Rihanna herself, who is undoubtedly the subject of these wretched lyrics.
I don't wanna play no games. Fuck around, give you my last name. Don't let them niggas try you, test your patience. Tell them that it's over, ain't no debating. All you need is me playing on your playlist.
Even if it honestly could have been so much worse, the fact that it even exists just makes my stomach turn. There's not much else to say here otherwise. The production here is the same dismal, dreary sound that plagued Olive Brown's Heartbreak on a Full Moon singles. The main hook sounds like it could have been used on like 50 other songs from either of these two artists. And in general, it's just a lackluster radio single with ill intentions that should have been cancelled before it even begun. This just disappoints me, wholeheartedly. I'd like to move on now.
Tell me how's it feel, sitting up there, feeling so high, but too far away to hold me.
Yeah, my feelings about this one haven't changed, for the most part. I still can't enjoy it much. I still think Halsey fits better with more pop-oriented stuff, blah blah blah. But now these negative feelings are even more amplified, given the fact that it's still up this high. Seriously, with all of the relatively more upbeat fare going on in the rest of this top 20, this one just sticks out like a sore thumb. It really does feel like a gloomy wintertime song that has somehow dug its heels in and refuses to leave. At least it's finally heading out though. Please do something more interesting, Halsey. Now that Pride Month is long over, I can finally quit hating the song for being tasteless and problematic. And now I can hate it for being dull as shit. But nah, this is still pretty tasteless. Speaking as a queer person, I really don't need Taylor Swift reaching for some shred of empathy for our experiences just because she too gets haters, even using words like shade without even taking a 30-second trip to Urban Dictionary. Or, you know, actually talking to an LGBTQ person. But that whole part of the song has been torn to shreds, and I can sense everybody's eyes glazing over, so I'm gonna move on. Everything else about this song is so painfully underdeveloped. The thudding bass-ridden beat during the verses sounds like a demo someone forgot to update. The chorus, if you could even call it that, is pointless and annoying, full of placeholder lyrics and vocalizations that really supply none of the punch they need to be effective.
You need to just stop. Like, can you just not?
I'm actually a little sad that Me fell out of the top 20 so quickly, since I think both songs operate on similar levels of suckage, and comparing them as a dull review of sorts would have been so much fun. But yeah, anyway. This is bad. It's getting harder and harder to believe that this is the same Taylor Swift who gave us Blank Space and Style, and hell, even Delicate. These new songs are in an entirely different universe altogether. This song is painfully lacking in any kind of focus, and generally operates just to take up 3 minutes of space on the radio. I just don't care anymore.
Between us in the game, in the next life I'm trying to stay paid. When I die, put my money in the grave.
Fuck you.
'Cause I don't care when I'm with my baby, yeah. All the bad things disappear.
Honestly, I can't see myself disliking this one quite as much if it were sung by someone other than these two. I actually dig this chorus melody quite a bit, and I find myself singing along from time to time, when no one else is listening, of course. Nonetheless, this is sung by the dork who I never liked much despite the hype he's gotten through the years, and another dork who I actually don't despise as much as his reputation wants me to, but still has a discography that's spotty as hell. It's just perplexing to me that anyone would think that their presence would work well together, since they give off totally different vibes in their solo work. But they're here together, and as a result, yeah, this doesn't work very well at all. The tropical house groove is so 2015, and that vocalized hook in the chorus just honestly makes me cringe. It's almost as bad as. And on that note also, God, this is the summer of placeholder choruses, ain't it? Sheeran is fine, I guess, but Bieber adds nothing to this track whatsoever. In fact, the first time I listened to it, it took me a second to determine whose voice was whose. It's just that muddled of a production, which is a shame since there is some actual potential here for these lyrics to shine a bit brighter than they do.
Everyone's got so much to say.
That's so relatable. Everybody does have so much to say, and being in that party atmosphere where I feel like I'm the only one not talking just gives me so much anxiety about attending parties in the first place. Another bit of wasted talent. This track should have gone to Charlie XCX and Hayley Kiyoko. Now that I would love to see.
Bitch, huh?
Packing the mail, it's gone. She like I smell cologne. Yeah, I just signed a deal, I'm on. Yeah.
This song does nothing for me. And like, I wish I had something more substantial to say about it than just that, but I've listened to this again and again and again, and, well, nothing. It's just another new name to drop in the homogenous pile of trap rappers that have attained a hit or two in previous years. And like all these others in the pile, DaBaby will likely fail into obscurity soon enough. The beat is cool, I guess, and DaBaby has enough charisma to not make it a total waste of time. But it's also too simple enough for me to really pay more than a fragment of attention to it. And there's nothing for me to grab onto lyrically, save for a passing mention of the infamous titular Suge Knight. Yeah, nothing else to see here. So let's move on. Yeah, my thoughts on this remain unchanged. The beat is nice, post is boring, and all that jazz. I will say that listening to this in a party atmosphere instead of alone with my headphones really makes all the difference. It soon becomes a bonding experience of sorts. Sort of how the whole bar sings along to Living on a Prayer or Come On Eileen whenever it comes on at karaoke night. But as you know, it's also a really great way to hate a song very, very quickly. So I don't recommend it.
Can we just talk? Can we just talk about
I don't know why I mentally see the song as a sort of up-tempo companion to Better, but I do. I guess while Better is more of a passionate song about a love affair kept under wraps, Talk aims to drive said affair forward into something realer than just a physical relationship.
What's been on your mind? There's no reason we should hide. Tell me something I ain't heard before.
Anyway, I've said in the past that I found Khalid to be pretty uninteresting as a whole. And except for a handful of songs, that still remains true. While Talk has some interesting backing music, courtesy of UK house duo Disclosure, there really isn't too much else to be legitimately excited about here. I think what helps to play Khalid's biggest strength are the relatively down-tempo production that tends to be employed in his music. Better is, once again, a good example, but so is Location and even Young, Dumb and Broke. It's not that he doesn't have the capacity for up-tempo fare, more that this is probably not it. It's not that it's bad, it isn't at all. It's just nothing more than a sparse, mildly enjoyable poppy radio jam that feels a bit shorter than it actually is. I've just got nothing much else to work with here. Nonetheless, the real stars of the show here are Disclosure themselves. The music on this track is sticky as all hell, and these guys really need more recognition for sure. Also, just gonna throw it out there that Help Me Lose My Mind is one of my favorite songs in the entire 2010s. If you take anything from Talk, just make it an incentive to check out some more Disclosure on your free time. I initially had this ranked up in the top 10, but I realized that I had some trouble putting what I enjoyed about it into words. It's a decent song, sure, but then after listening to it a few more times, the gospel country instrumentation kinda wore down on me. And then I realized that I couldn't really find much in the lyrics to write home about either. And then I remembered my admittedly irrational resentment towards Blake Shelton for dating Gwen Stefani when we all knew that her and Gavin Rossdale were meant to be together till the end of time. No, you're bitter. So number 12 it is.
I love it when you call me señorita. I wish I could pretend I didn't need.
And here's yet another example where the music excels beyond anything else going on in front of it. Briefly turning away from the performers at the front of the track, I really dig the slinky Latin-tinged atmosphere of this production. The way these guitars intertwine with the relatively organic electronic elements and how the combination of these elements lightly swell at the chorus with a more pronounced percussion make this certainly a treat for the ears. Nonetheless, this track also has its problems, the greatest of which being Camila Cabello herself.
I love it when you call me señorita.
And it hurts me to say that, since I'll more likely than not come to her defense. And Havana is probably my favorite hit single of its year. Nonetheless, gosh, she's rough here. And while Shawn Mendes is surprisingly pretty passable as her suave male counterpart, together their chemistry is close to non-existent. Here I really get the sense that they recorded both their parts on different days or locations, which make for a frustratingly average record overall. At the very least though, this at least feigns its chemistry, far more charmingly than the outro to Justin Timberlake's song of the same name.
Ladies, I don't know, but I'm thinking about.
Additionally, yeah, I have a hard time believing that the speaker truly loves when this pasty white boy calls her señorita, as most experiences I've had with white men calling me that have been unwelcome and annoying. But then again, maybe the issue is that she does genuinely enjoy when this one certain guy does it, which is a source of internal conflict for this chick.
I wish I could pretend I didn't need ya.
So yes, it's canon now. This song is about lusting after cringy white boys against one's own personal taste or sense of good judgment. I don't make the rules.
I'm a sucker for you. Say the word and I'll go anywhere blindly.
Yeah, I still like this one about as much as I did before, despite constantly forgetting that, yes, it's still in the top 10. At this rate, I can imagine this being the song that will trigger a wave of memories 5 or 10 years from now upon giving it a play for the first time in a while, the same way that DNCE's Cake by the Ocean brings back memories of 2015. And seeing that the brothers' follow-up singles to this don't come off nearly as, cool, that's probably the highest of praise I can give to the group at this very moment in time. Overplay is definitely settling into this one, but I haven't yet groaned upon hearing it come on the radio. So I think that's a net win overall.
Hey, look, Ma, I made it. Hey, look, Ma, I made it.
It's really strange considering that this song is only now starting to make its way up the charts, considering that the first time I watched its filthy puppet concept music video, the Happy Time Murders was still relevant. But anyway, even though I generally enjoyed High Hopes, not only am I so glad that it's finally out of the top 20, but I think Hey Look Ma I Made It is genuinely a better song overall. I really like how these instrumentals are so much more dialed back, making their cathartic explosion on the chorus so much more effective. And that counts for Brendan Urie as well. It's pretty nice hearing him go back to his lower vocal register again, even if only for the verses. I wish he utilized the dichotomy of his range more often, because he could really be quite a constructive performer if he left the obnoxious screeching in the dust. Yeah, I really do like the song quite a bit, even if there are a few clunky lyrics here or there.
I'm a hooker selling songs and my pimp's a record label. In a golden cathedral, I'll be praying for the faithless, and if you lose, boo-hoo.
God, is that boo-hoo quite an awkward transition into the relative carefree positivity of the chorus. And yeah, once again, it's a good chorus, even if a bit on a minimal side lyrically. The horns that blare uncomfortably on High Hopes are finally utilized appropriately here, and it makes for a bright, positive hook overall. Certainly not the best from Panic at the Disco, but hey, I'll take it.
Is it too late to tell you that everything means nothing if I can't have you?
Okay, serious question. Is this the highest ranking song on the Hot 100 written by a trans woman? I've been racking my brain trying to think of another number 2 or even number 1 single with a trans woman involved, but nothing else comes to mind. I'm sure that there's either one glaringly obvious song I'm totally missing, or there's nothing else at all. Either way, y'all should check out Teddy Geiger's EP from last year. It's pretty adorable. So it's already been noted that this sounds suspiciously close to one of Shawn Mendes' other hit singles.
One song that's not about you can't drink. Oh, I've been shaking. I love it when you go crazy. You take all my inhibition.
The rhythm in the chorus is similar. The melody in the verses is similar. It even does that fluttery guitar thing that the other song does.
It doesn't matter 'cause I'm so consumed.
But that other one was good, and this one is good as well. I see no reason to complain. It seems like at this moment in time, we're watching Shawn Mendes grow into a distinct, mature personality as a performer. I definitely feel like Stitches and even Treat You Better were eons ago. And if Mendes continues to embark on the introspective path he had been teasing with In My Blood and Lost in Japan, we could really have something truly special in our hands in a couple years or so. Maybe even sooner, depending on where this next album takes us. As for this song, it's a simple little love-struck ballad that operates as such, and it's perfectly acceptable. I always feel like we could use more actual pop songs on the pop charts, and this is jaunty enough to fit the bill. But seriously, let's put some respect on our girl Alicia's name.
Everything means nothing if I can't have you.
But everything means nothing if I ain't got you.
Just because Shawn Mendes was 5 years old when this song came out doesn't take him off the hook. Also, I feel very old now, so I'm gonna move on.
We come from poverty, man, we ain't have a thing. It's a lot of animosity, but they won't say my name. Them killers rock with me.
For some reason, Suge and Pop Out are strangely, intrinsically linked in my mind, even though they certainly don't sound anything alike. Probably because they're both breakthrough singles from rappers in the trap genre that popped into the top 40 around the same time, and will likely be the only major hit from their respective artists. At this point, the surplus of forgettable rappers popping in seemingly every week is a tad overwhelming. It's a good thing this pops out then. While it sounds like I'm insulting this song, I'd like to make it clear that I enjoy this song quite a lot. Polo G has some great energy and flow in the verses, and the chorus is surprisingly catchy considering the amounts of trap cliches it has at its disposal.
For your body, shots hit your brain.
So what's the consensus on Lil TJ here? I've heard some positive reactions on him, but in my opinion, he comes dangerously close to running the song completely off the rails, especially with that line.
Got that 40 on my side and I'm just rolling past the jakes. But my hands can do the job and I ain't talking masturbate.
I mean, the fact that it doesn't even properly rhyme with the previous line makes this come off as Lil TJ being a bit too desperate to make a masturbation reference. Nothing wrong with that, just saying. It's quite a banger in ways that I can't totally explain, but my brain reacts pretty positively to it, so why debate it? Here we go.
Gonna do the two-step, then cowboy boogie. Grab a sweetheart and spin out with him. Do the hold down and...
I definitely predicted that in the aftermath of Old Town Road's gargantuan success, it was certain that we'd be hit with imitators. I just didn't think that the imitators would, right off the bat, be so damn pleasing to the ear. I know nothing else about Blanco Brown, and while he doesn't seem as immediately charismatic as Lil Nas X has proven to be, there's no denying that this is one of the better instructional dance songs that we've had in a while. As someone who has been to a handful of Texas weddings back in the day, I'll say with the utmost certainty that this was made for a party setting. And yes, as opposed to other songs that don't make this element super obvious and nonetheless have been embraced by the wedding crowd for simply being catchy, the Get Up wears this exact appeal right on its sleeve.
Grab your loved ones, or grab your love partner.
Here, Blanco Brown plays a part of a wedding MC, improvising different moves throughout the song and challenging the audience to keep up with him.
It's simple, you can do it. Slide to the left, slide to the right, now cool down. Have a good time.
It carries this really fun, wholesome vibe that I honestly have yet to grow sick of after dozens of listens. And much like Old Town Road, and this will be the last time I'll bring up that song in comparison to this song, the Get Up strength reside in the ways that it skillfully combines elements of country with hip-hop. The ad-libs strewn throughout the verses are certainly a fun, bouncy balancing act to Brown's pronounced twang.
Take it down now, take it down now, take it down now, take it down now.
I always expect Brown to follow up this part with, but how he finishes his verse is honestly much, much better.
Bring it up now, Chris Cross. Do whatever you like right here. Just have fun.
I mean, does anything else need to be said? It's a fantastic climax and frankly solidifies this to legend status in the dance party world. Yet, the song's one major issue comes with its clumsy finish.
That was not so bad. That was not so bad, was it?
After the aforementioned blissful climax, I always expect it to end after the following chorus, while the spirits are high. Instead, we get this awkward cooldown period, which doesn't have any explicit or even suggested dance moves tied to it. I'm honestly struggling to find a purpose for this part. It just seems tacked on and lazy, even more disappointing considering how strong the rest of the song is. Nonetheless, in a time where dreary, dull, and dismal music seems to plague both the country and the rap spheres, it's so nice to find a song that is this charming and dead set on having a good time. And if this song's streak of success means that we may never have to submit ourselves to the cha-cha slide ever again, I'll say it was all worth it in the end.
Look
what you made me do. I'm with somebody new. Ooh, baby, baby, I'm dancing with a stranger.
Yes, this is still as wonderful and effervescent as ever. Sam Smith continues to slay here, and I'm now fully convinced that this is one of his best performances ever. I doubt that he'll get very much recognition for the genuinely compelling electronic-based work he's been putting out lately, but it's fine. He still slays. This is still a great melancholic nocturnal bop, and I continue to enjoy it wholeheartedly. Also, stream How Do You Sleep? One of my first lengthy music review videos I put up on here was a video that covered a few nuggets of thoughts and observations on the then current Hot 100. The video was quickly blocked, and since I didn't know much about editing at the time, I just avoided the extra legwork of trying to keep it up and moved on to my spring top 20 ranked. But anyway, one of the songs I covered in that video was Billie Eilish's When the Party's Over, which I highlighted as a shining example of an artist with a unique aesthetic and style worth paying closer attention to. I compared the song to the similarly minimalist Hide and Seek by Imogen Heap and commended the uniquely melodramatic and sort of creepy atmosphere expertly crafted from the production and Eilish's performance itself. I ended the mini review with the plea for listeners to take her more seriously as a genuinely groundbreaking new artist and to ensure that her stuff gets wider attention and appreciation. Now look what we have here. I fully admit that if not for somebody setting up shop at the very top of this list, Bad Guy would have occupied that spot without a doubt, and at least for a few weeks. It's gotten huge through a number of ways by which songs nowadays get huge, namely hype, memes, and controversy. And on top of all that, it's catchy as sin. I will admit that I would have preferred if Lovely were the song that had catapulted her to the top, but I also understand why this was the one, and I'll take it. The more that Billie Eilish develops her image, the more I become certain that Billie Eilish as an artist is more of a collaborative project between Billie and her brother Phineas. Kind of like how Jamiroquai is not just that one guy, but a bunch of other guys as well. Half of the power of Bad Guy comes from the pulsing beat of its production, which is so damn intriguing and powerful from the very first bars. Typical of Billie Eilish's entries in the Hot 100 thus far, there's basically nothing else that comes close to the utterly creepy vibe of this tune. The second half of this power, of course, is Billie herself, who commands the song and fits the role of the titular bad guy perfectly. There are a few lines that have been noted as questionable.
I'm that bad type, make your mama sad type, make your girlfriend mad type, might seduce your dad type.
But honestly, that just makes it all the more enthralling. I love horror films about kids who terrorize adults and make their lives a living hell. And she comes off as the perfect potential antagonist to such a film.
I'm the bad guy.
Duh. Also, if you're a man who's old enough to be a father and you feel compelled to follow through with a 17-year-old girl's seduction tactics, that's on you, bud. You're the bad guy. And yeah, the final third is an excellent change-up into some more trap-influenced production. I love how Billie uses her voice to tremendous ability at effectively highlighting the chilling factor of this record to even greater effect.
I don't see what she sees, but maybe it's 'cause I'm wearing your cologne.
It's just all so good. It's really hard to say whether or not Billie Eilish can repeat this commercial success, as her more minimalist work, where she's at her strongest I think, tend to fall by the wayside. Or maybe I'm still bitter that When the Party's Over never got the recognition it fully deserved. I don't know. Either way, this is not the last we're going to hear from Billie Eilish. I can guarantee that.
Then you're left in the dust, unless I stuck by you. You're a sunflower.
Yep, this is still a tremendous piece of work, especially now that it's evident that it can stand apart as its own song, and not just a soundtrack cut from Into the Spider-Verse. Both performers have a unique style of melancholic vocals that just play upon each other so naturally and perfectly, it's hard not to get wrapped up in the sheer aesthetics of their performance alone. This is heightened by the hazy, nostalgic feelings of that dreamy production, and blah blah blah. You all know this is terrific, let's not pretend I'm breaking any new ground here. Let's just say that whenever I listen to this, I am so high, I can hear heaven. Yeehaw?
Can't nobody tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing.
Hey, you guys ever hear this song? It's like country and rap. Quite a novel concept, huh? In all seriousness, I definitely appreciate Lil Nas X's presence in the pop music landscape, if for nothing else than for being a much-needed beacon of positivity, silliness, and good vibes that I and probably many others need in these trying times. I see the surprise popularity of this song being a culmination of listeners' desires to latch onto something invigorating and boundary-shattering, while also being genuinely wholesome and fun. Country rap has definitely been done before, and most of the time very poorly. But it's rarely ever been so satisfyingly jubilant and innocent in the very core of its nature. And with how much overplay this has gotten, I'm legitimately surprised that I'm not sick of it yet. My first listen of this song came on the day it debuted on the Hot 100. I thought it was kind of funny, so I showed everyone I knew just so I can watch their reactions. It just kind of became a silly prank to me. But then when Billy Ray Cyrus jumped on with the remix, the song transformed itself into something a bit different. The shoddiness of the original made way for an actual second verse and an outro chorus, resulting in a more complete-sounding song. It was no longer a prank at this point, but a legitimate piece of art. At that point, I loved it. There are a number of iconic lines that have emerged from both Lil Nas' original verse and Cyrus's guest verse.
My life is a movie, bull riding in boobies. Cowboy hat from Gucci, Wrangler on my booty. No stress, I've been through all that. I'm like a Marlboro man, so I keep going back.
It still plays on a lot of the hedonistic tropes of both rap and country music, but the carefree nature of the entire record makes it an absolute joy to rap and sing along to.
Can't nobody tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing.
And considering that Lil Nas X wrote this song when he himself was going through a period of struggle and hopelessness, it's no wonder how this song could resonate with so many. Even looking beyond the melding of these two unique genres, it is at its core a song about perseverance and success, presenting it all in a way that, yes, is a bit cliched and corny, but is nevertheless a track that many could turn to during their own periods of despair. All of this is obvious though. With this being far and away the biggest song of 2019, there have been a ton of folks that have discussed and interpreted this song to high heaven. And I haven't even touched upon Young Thug's influence on this track, or the controversy regarding Billboard's classification system, or the second huge remix of this tune featuring Young Thug and also Mason Ramsey. Which is great, by the way. But I'll sum it all up by saying that, especially in the present day as we continue to bask in the singles dominance, Old Town Road has moved beyond being a mere hit single. It's more of an experience as a whole, since context clues are absolutely crucial to understanding this entire record. It's a great combination of both the strange realm of meme culture that I still don't quite understand, and the heightened reliance on streaming in today's world that truly allows the public to decide which songs become huge. I'm really glad this kid got rewarded for his efforts, and I truly wish the best for him. If you know me in real life, you're probably not at all surprised for my choice of number 1 on this list.
Why men gray till they gotta be gray? Don't text me, tell it straight to my face. Best friend send me.
I'm gonna be real with y'all. I've been an avid follower of Lizzo's Instagram since around mid-2018, and I've been listening to her music for a little bit longer than that. I remember checking out her Coconut Oil EP around the end of 2016 at the recommendation of a friend and being so enamored by her effortlessly positive vibes emanated by her mere presence. And yeah, I definitely needed a little bit of a pick-me-up at the tail end of 2016, so there's no denying that songs like Good as Hell helped to fill that void for me. And then there's her consistent statements on self-love and body positivity, around which she's built her whole brand.
I was born like this, don't even gotta try.
Fast forward 3 years later, and now the world is finally catching on to the fireball personality and show-stopping talent of Lizzo. And I couldn't be happier. Truth Hurts was originally a non-album single from 2017 that only barely picked up some major steam just a few months ago in ways that I could have never expected. It's a bit odd that it took a rather average woman-led comedy on Netflix using 30 seconds of the song for one scene to finally catapult it up to the top 20. As of my writing this song has recently broke into the top 5, and I'm not even sure if many people even remember Someone Great. But anyway, onto the song itself. Truth Hurts is a bit of an empowerment anthem for ladies feeling down after a breakup. While we've gotten 1.5 million of those throughout the course of pop music's history, the vast majority of them have notoriously regurgitated a lot of the same sentiments and cliches, both in sound and lyricism, in order to forcibly push those feel-good buttons to pretty obnoxious length. Truth Hurts, however, is one of the good ones. While many similar songs take on the same formula of projecting passivity and depression in the verses, only to rise to a head in the quote-unquote empowering chorus, Lizzo lets us know right off the bat that she's not here to play any games.
Why men great till they gotta be great? I just took a DNA test, turns out I'm 100% that bitch, even when I'm crying crazy.
Yeah, that's right. Bad bitches ain't got time to feel sorry for themselves. And this introductory burst of energy expertly courses throughout the length of the song. These lyrics, and Lizzo's presentation of such, are just phenomenal.
You're supposed to hold me down, but you holding me back, and that's the sound. I mean, I'm calling you back. Hey, I'm glad you're back with your bitch. I mean, who would wanna hide this? I will never, ever, 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 ever be your side chick.
Just instantly iconic. I've got to admit that the Hot 100 has left me jaded very often these days, so I tend to gravitate towards songs that are more upbeat and positive in nature. Old Town Road fits the criteria for sure, and so does Truth Hurts. And while Truth Hurts also has its meme-driven clout as a driving force for its popularity, it also is genuinely catchy and uplifting in its own right, and I can totally see it standing the test of time. And hey, look at that, a Sister Nancy reference as well. And yeah, maybe it's a bit unrealistic for people to be expected to keep a stiff upper lip immediately after splitting with a partner. But if this song allows for someone to feel even 3 minutes of cathartic positivity while going through this tough time, it would be all for the better. This is basically as real and powerful of a pop song that I can hope for in these trying times. And for me personally, it pushes all the right feel-good buttons. To be honest, I'm not too sure if Lizzo's Hot 100 success will continue after the inevitable peak and fall of Truth Hurts. There's just been no one else quite like her intersection of image, talent, and personality that has made it so high on the charts, so it's tough to say at this very moment. But the truth is, she isn't going away anytime soon, and we should all be grateful for that.
I'm fuckboy free, y'all.
Gentlemen, good night. Ladies, good morning. And that's it.